We had Vampire Subculture, and we are Trista and Ashley. The norms of this would be they like to be referred to as real vampires instead of just vampires, and real vampires have community names they prefer to go by. They have community names to protect their identity from people they might live near or know. They wear dark reds and blacks for clothing and makeup. Many real vampires have been diagnosed with mental and physical health conditions such as anorexia and bipolar and depressive disorders. There are lifestyle vampires who participate in gothic culture of vampires, but they don't partake in the feeding of energy, so they don't do any psychic feeding or drink any blood. And vampires, commonly known as sing vampires, ingest small amounts of blood, human or otherwise, to obtain energy. They are considered the extremists of this group. Psychic vampires, or psi vampires, use touch and proximity feeding to gain their energy through others physically. They feed off of their life energy. Many people in this subculture have fangs made specifically for them by fangsmiths, and they wear them to any social gathering. Some of the beliefs within the subculture are that they truly believe they were born vampires. These are the real vampires and extremists that believe this. They also believe they must feed on energy of other non-vampires to survive. Real vampires don't believe they have the right to tell someone if they are real vampires or not, so they intermingle with lifestyle vampires and extremists a lot. Language and slang terms are extremely popular within the vampire community. One of them is turning, which basically just describes turning from a human to a vampire, so the transition. Vamping out is when one of the people in their culture are ready to feed and they're very aggressive about it. Bloodletting are the donors that want to give blood to these vampire subcultures, and noir havens are social gatherings that they all attend. Some of the symbols that these vampires have are the dragon, as you can see in the top right corner, that is circular and biting its tail, the rose that is normally wilted or cut from its bush, I guess, and the Enke, which you can see in the middle of the screen, and it represents resurrection, death, and eternal life, which also flows into both of these other symbols.
So some of the rituals and celebrations that they have in the subculture is the Father Sebastian Endless Night Vampire Ball, the Tampa Vampire World Ball, and this last one here, Sacred Death, is specifically for vampiric cults only. And within the Sacred Death, it's when someone within the cult tells someone something that's outside what the cult does, they will hunt this person down and they will kill them, and that's why they call it the Sacred Death. It's a whole ritual. So, locations of the vampire subcultures, their members are present all over the world, but they're most dense in Manhattan, New Orleans, and London, and this is because these are the cities that usually host the biggest balls. So, relationships within the subculture, everyone's very interconnected, and they do this through gatherings. They tend to live close together in small groups. They are very big on the clan-like living, and as said before, real vampires like to intermingle with the lifestyle vampires. So, methods of recruitment. Membership is always voluntarily. But in one specific cult, the Temple of the Vampire, the temple has 5 grades of initiation. Vampire Initiate, which is the first circle. Second circle is Vampire Predator, and that is granted to the Vampire Initiate who successfully achieves specific results in vampire development. The third is the Vampire Priest or Priestess, which is the priesthood within the cult. It's the third circle, and you have gateways to the hidden mysteries of the temple. And the fourth circle is the Vampire Sorcerer or Sorceress, and the fifth, Vampire Adapts. the 2 level of membership in the temple, you're always a lifetime member. You have to make some sort of material donation to the temple, such as money or some object of value. You get a vampire Bible, a vampire ritual medallion, and the vampire temple ring upon making the donation. Active membership is a lifetime member who makes the formal application for affiliation, and then they're granted entrance by the council for advanced studies. And they have to voluntarily accept 4 restrictions for their behavior: no criminal activity, no physical blood drinking, no presentation of the temple to the public without permission, and no support of any group or individual opposed to the temple.
So how does this differ from popular culture? Well, vampire subculture differs from popular cultures because they have separate and secretive rituals that pertain specifically to their culture, unlike popular culture. And they also reverse their day and their night life, so they're awake during the night and asleep during the day. Only extremists of this culture do this. Along with their night lives, they also incorporate fangs into their smiles. This is a huge change from the subculture smiles of popular culture. Examples of preconceptions and biases. Many people may see them as just goths to the extreme, and not everyone cares to look into their culture, so they see them as fan fiction groups. And lastly, this is a subculture because outside of their gatherings, they continue their lives in a moral and socially acceptable way. They do their unpersonal biddings behind closed doors, and by doing this, they stay within the subculture umbrella provided by others in their social environment.